A hand is all that was left of Rogal Dorn, and a Necron may have the rest. Welcome, Initiate, Trazyn the Infinite, Archaeovist, thief, the most prolific collector in the galaxy, is trapped, and he starts going through his Tesseract vaults looking for something dangerous enough to get him out. He runs down the list of what he owns. One of the entries is 2 words and a comma. Praetorian, 7th. That is the whole thing. That is what has a section of this fandom awake at 4 in the morning arguing about a piece of punctuation. Tonight, we take it in 3 parts. First, the case that those 2 words are Rogal Dorn, and it is better than you would expect. Then the case against, which is being dismissed too fast. And finally, the question almost nobody is asking. Not whether Dorn is in that vault, but why Games Workshop chose to tell us like this. That last part is the one that matters.
Everything starts with the comma. Praetorian, 7th. Not the Praetorian 7th. Not 7th Praetorian. Something sits between them, and that something turns one name into 2 labels, the way a curator tags a display case rather than the way an officer names a regiment. Which matters, because we have heard those 2 labels together before. Here is Rogal Dorn introducing himself in Dan Abnett's The End and the Death.
I am Rogal Dorn, Praetorian, Primarch of the Imperial Fists, 7th found son, defiant and unyielding.
Praetorian, comma, 7th. Same 2 labels, same order, and that phrasing is Dorn's own, established in the text of the siege itself. Robert Rath writes in the same shared canon. He would know exactly what those 2 words together sound like. Then there is where the line falls. Trazyn is trapped when he opens that inventory, scrolling for something powerful enough to break him out, which means every entry he reads is a candidate weapon. That narrows the field enormously. You do not check your armory for a regiment of guardsmen. And this would not be his first Primarch. Fabius Bile came to Solemnus chasing a lost emperor's children gene seed tithe, and bought his way out by handing over a perfect clone of Fulgrim, the 3rd Legion's Primarch, in stasis in the galleries. Trazyn took that deal. A copy, yes, but a Primarch-tier acquisition, catalogued and shelved, and worth an entire Legion's gene seed to him. He has one. He has appetite for more.
What he lacks is opportunity, and Dorn is the one Primarch who offers it.
Dorn vanished around 781 M31, boarding the Chaos warship Sword of Sacrilege during the First Black Crusade, and nothing came back except the hand. 10,000 years later, the Imperial Fists still venerate it, because it is all they have. No corpse, no confirmed death, no body anyone in the Imperium has ever produced. You cannot steal what has already been buried, and Dorn is the only son of the Emperor whose ending is a blank space. Which leaves the timing, and the timing is what turns coincidence into a pattern. Perturabo is coming back. Games Workshop has shown his Demon Primarch form for the first time. His Iron Warriors are grinding through the Cadian Gate as the opening move of the Infinite Citadel, a chain of sieges reaching toward Terra, built to thin the barrier between real space and the warp, until Perturabo can walk on Imperial soil himself. The Siege Master, the Iron Cage, the brother whose entire hatred has one address. If you are laying a road for the Lord of Iron to walk back into the galaxy, you do not leave the Praetorian of Terra sitting in a box. That is the case. 5 things pointing the same direction.
Now let me take it apart, because the counter-argument is being dismissed far too quickly, and it deserves better. Praetorians are a regiment type. The Astra Militarum fields them, numbers them, like everything else it fields, And a Praetorian 7th is exactly the kind of designation that would exist without anyone thinking twice. There is a specific one, too. The Praetorian 7th turn up in recent material tied to the Pariah Nexus, which is Necron space, which is precisely where Trazyn does his shopping. A guard regiment gets fed into a war zone crawling with Necrons, and one of them files the survivors wholesale. Trazyn has taken entire regiments before. If that is what happened, the line means nothing whatsoever. And I should be honest about the rest of it, Initiate, because I made that case sound tighter than it is. The comma is suggestive, and suggestive is a long way from proof. Writers punctuate casually, editors move things, and a list of exhibits might be laid out any number of ways without a single one carrying a hidden meaning. The Fulgrim clone proves Trazyn collects Primarch tier material. It says nothing about whether he holds Dorn. Perturabo's return makes Dorn's return convenient, and convenience has never once obligated Games Workshop to do anything. They have left better-built threads hanging for decades.
Primarch return rumors have run for years, and the people spreading them will tell you themselves that most of them evaporate. But the thing that should give you real pause is older than the book. People were already arguing that Trazyn had Dorn months before this novel existed. The idea was circulating. It was already something a section of this fandom wanted to be true, which means when 2 words showed up in a Necron inventory, there was an audience primed and waiting to see exactly that, and primed people find what they are looking for, including me, including you. So hold both of those at once. The evidence is real, and so is the possibility that we are all pattern matching on a regiment number.
So let me give you my answer, Initiate. It's the regiment. The Praetorian 7th are Astra Militarum. They exist. They were last seen fighting in the Pariah Nexus, and the Pariah Nexus is where Trazyn does his shopping. The dullest possible reading was sitting there the entire time. Now, Valrak took 2 words out of a Necron's filing cabinet and had Rogal Dorn back in the galaxy before lunch. And I want to be very clear about this, Initiate. That is the correct response. That is what you are supposed to do. Somewhere out there, a man read a comma and thought, the Praetorian of Terra is in a box, and he told everybody, immediately, with his whole chest, no hedging, 10,000 years of silence and 1 punctuation mark, and the man went straight through the wall. Never change. Genuinely. Because here's the thing he understood better than the people correcting him. There is a hole. It is Dorn-shaped. It has been Dorn-shaped for 10 millennia, and it could be filled on any given Tuesday by any given sentence in any given novel. He was wrong about which sentence. He was completely right about the shape of the gap. And that's the part that should sit badly with you. Games Workshop didn't plant this. There's no coded line, no deliberate tease, nothing hidden for the faithful to decode. They didn't have to bother. They only ever had to leave Rogal Dorn missing. Do that, and every few years, for free, with no marketing budget and no announcement, this fandom will find a hand in a reliquary, or a name on a list, or 2 words in a Necron inventory, and build the entire hype cycle themselves. Then argue about it. Then wait. A body ends the story. A grave has a date on it. An absence runs forever. And it pays out every single time somebody squints at a page. We did this one to ourselves, Initiate. Nobody even had to lie to us. The Illuminati Broadcast Network doesn't tell you what to think. But when a regiment number can move an entire fandom in a single afternoon, ask who profits from a grave that was never dug. The Dorn Report is closed.